Hey, welcome everyone. I'm happy to have another episode with all of you. Today, I have a very special guest whom I worked with him before. It's an interesting journey that I'm very curious to learn about. This is not a topic which I'm an expert on, but clearly the guest is an expert. So, the topic for today is private equity and venture capital journeys. I want to unpack the successes, challenges, and trends in investing and managing portfolio companies. A lot of people talk about like what does that look like. Private equity and venture capital are often talked about in terms of numbers and deals, but behind those are deeply human stories, tough judgment calls, trusting people with bold visions, right? So we always see the tip of the iceberg, but I want to go deeper below the water and see what does that look like. Navigating market shifts, no one could fully predict. So this episode is all about it. Like I said, I'm also curious. I have the expert with me, so let's straight away jump into the topic. Mike, I want you to introduce yourself, and we can go into the topic.
Great. No, great to be here, and thanks for having me on your show. We've known each other for a long time and have gone through a number of journeys together. Especially building some pretty great digital products for consumers. So, no, it's great to be here. I'm Mike Jones, founder and managing partner of 952 Capital Partners, and we're a private equity company. We invest, we advise in companies, and it's a journey that started for me after a long career in financial services,
Mhm.
where I did a lot of investing in ventures along the way, and yeah, kind of parlayed that into doing my own thing,
Yeah.
and it's been rewarding, and it's been a whirlwind over the last several years. So.
Well, it's good to hear that it is keeping you happy. That's what it's the important thing, right, to do. Before I dive into the first question, Michael, I want to know, like, have you had this dream always in your mind? Because I never thought when I was working with you, right? It's not that you're not capable; you're fully capable of doing this. But like, have you had this dream always, or is it like, is there any pivotal moment that made you to jump into this journey?
Yeah, it's interesting on kind of how I got where I'm at, right now. I have an eclectic background. I would say the first part of my career, I worked in private equity.
Okay.
I worked for a large private equity firm out of New York, doing deals, capital markets, banks deals for them associated with it, and really didn't get into financial services until a little bit later, in my career. But it's an interesting thing that kind of springboarded me in there. I sent a check in to, I believe it was Goldman Sachs, to do an
Okay.
investment into private equity, right? So, and I don't know, it was probably 3 to 6 months later, they sent me my check back and said,
Mm.
"Hey, we don't have enough, deal flow, and so we can't use your money." So it kind of prompted me to say, "Hey, maybe I should do my own thing and
Wow.
utilize all my skill sets that I've gained over the years and kind of move forward with that." So that's
Wow.
how I kind of got started with
That's
the return
that
check from
that one
from
written
Goldman
check.
Sachs. Right?
That one written check
So
made all of this possible. Wow. Um,
yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah, a lot of times when we talk about like everyone has the first deal story. I'm curious to know your first deal story, right? It's usually less about the financials and more about the emotions. I want to unpack on the nervousness that you had during that first deal, if at all any, the excitement that you had, the moment that you realized this work is about betting on people, not as much as on numbers. Can you share what is your feeling about the first deal, how it shaped your journey as an investor?
Yeah, I would say there's two aspects, to it. One, was early on in my career when I was more doing the analytics and the analysis and doing the recommendation to management and the board. And there was always that kind of fear in the back of my mind that, oh, did I get the numbers right
Hmm. Hmm.
associated with that? And I think throughout that process, I learned that as you get into it, it's direction. Did you directionally get it correct around it? Because as soon as you put those numbers down on paper, they're going to change.
Yep. Yep.
The next day, as the company rolls forward and the journey with that company rolls forward associated with that. So for me, kind of that in the belly, kind of churning was, hey, did I get this right? Associated with it,
Yeah.
and I think what
Yeah.
I found was there were going to be positives and there were going to be negatives, and there are probably ones that you didn't see to be positive and negative, associated with it. The second aspect of it was to your point, right? That a lot of times we underestimate the human aspect
Yep.
in the acquisition. You're taking somebody's baby that they've been with for a long times,
Yeah. Yeah.
many and that's what we kind of do at 952 Capital Partners, is really provide growth capital. And we find good solid running companies
Hmm.
that really want to take it to the next level, or really don't have an exit strategy because
Right. Right.
there's not another family member to pass it down to associated with it. So really it's you do a lot of interaction and soul searching from the standpoint of helping them transition,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Kind of their next journey as you're putting that growth capital in, and working with them to purchase their organization.
Right. Michael, when I reached out to you, I was thinking about the topic, for a discussion, and I've been watching this, like the Shark Tank seasons for the last 3 4 months, and every time I watch the episode, I tend to probably do some research on the investment that they made. Right, they invest 100,000 or 200,000 and turn it to a multi-million. They don't talk about what is that they missed, right? From an investment standpoint, and probably I want to touch on that. Not every opportunity turns into a win, right? Sometimes the deals we walk away, right, from them will teach us a long way. That's more than the ones that we close, right? Probably, if you can share, if at all you can share, was there a deal that you passed on, still stays with you, and what did you take away from that one?
Yeah, it's because of confidentiality, I can't
Yeah, yeah,
articulate the name associated with it. But there's one deal that, and I get it's crazy because I get quarterly updates because I'm still on their kind of the mailing list associated with it, and I
yep,
just cringe, because they're doing so great, associated with it. And a lot of times I think it's at least for me, was fear of the risk. And at the time I thought potentially the deal was too risky associated with that. So the learning for me was, okay, how can you really capture the risks
yep,
and range bound them
yep,
associated with it, and do more with that. And I'm always looking to learn and get better and grow. And it, really taught me to think about, how do I put those kind of goalposts in place around it, and, not allow it to kind of linger or broaden more so than it really should
right,
around it.
right,
And, in this instance, I did that. And it, made me walk away from an investment that, probably would have been pretty solid and pretty good, as they kind of navigated through it.
right. Yeah, on the other end, and Michael, when you were talking about this one, this is a great example. Thanks for sharing that. But on the other end, so much of investing happens in a little bit of a gray zone, right? Because you may not have all the information, you may not have the perfect information, you may not have the right data in place. Um, what principles or instincts that you use or lean in to make those tough calls? Because without perfect information or without those data, um, how do you make those tough calls? Because the decision clock is ticking.
Yeah, I think it's for me it's four things that when I come down to it, and you never have kind of perfect information or perfect data. It's
Hmm.
really how big is the target market, right? Is it big enough, to really grow and make an impact associated with it, and then
Right.
where's that product, service, thing, that one thing that an organization does really, really well, sit within that target market, from that perspective. And then, what's the competitive landscape around it? So, to me, those things kind of operate in together. And how do I feel about those two items there? The
Hmm.
third is talent, right? It all comes down to the right people in the right places to execute, and
Hmm.
have the individuals executed in the past. How comfortable do you get associated with their execution and their ability to execute over time? And you got to really rely and trust that those people can do that.
Right.
So
Right.
I spend a tremendous amount of time with the people that are within the organization, or how do I feel about supplementing
Yep.
and adding resources in my network that can take this organization to kind of to the next level, as we kind of move forward. And then the fourth thing is the learning that I had that I just articulated to you, right? So how do you fence in the risk? And is that risk palatable? As you think about the amount of investment that you're going to make within purchasing this organization, or taking a majority stake or a minority stake in it.
Right. Right. And given the market conditions, Michael, right, I've been watching and I've been curious to know as well, right? Previously it was all about this digital disruption, digital transformation. Now it is AI, right? It is rapidly changing every day, every hour. Probably like new regulations and global instability. There's a lot to chew on, if you will, especially in the
Yeah.
AI space. But what are the trends that you're watching, or are you continuously watching right now, right? That you think it could really shape the future of this private equity and venture capitalists?
Yeah, I think there's a component of it. Definitely AI. We utilize AI to do a lot of our work. I mean, if you think about it, right, is how do you find the right deals?
Yep.
And how do you put those in front of ourselves? Because really, time is the infinite, the finite aspect, of our business, where we spend our time to make the right investments as
Right.
we kind of move forward.
Hmm.
And we utilize AI to evaluate, different trends within it, within the different companies, spread financial statements for us, um, all of that. And we've made, several investments into AI type companies. We believe that the productivity that it's going to drive, the benefit that it's going to provide to consumers around it.
Hmm.
Um, as you look at some of these big language models, the interaction that it has with different industries, different consumers, and the experience that they interact with, it's interesting because it takes a lot of the emotion out of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
around it. Me and you are sitting next to each other, we may have a certain opinion associated with that, and that opinion blocks. And we're kind of a genesis of our own experiences and thought processes around that. and the computer kind of thinks logically and
Right. Right.
reasonably associated with that, taking in all the different information. So we believe that that's a trend that will impact. I would say the other one is just the amount of money that has come into the private credit
Hmm.
world. I don't know if you've seen the EA, acquisitions of billions and billions of dollars put into kind of private to do that deal. So we're seeing a tremendous amount of money coming in
Sure. Sure.
around it. So, how do you find the right ones that you don't pay too much for? Because, private credit's driving up the value or, what can be paid in the marketplace associated with that. So we're seeing a lot of that shift. Our go to market strategy is try to find off market type deals, right? Which
Right.
takes a little bit more time and it takes a little bit more energy as you network more around it. And, we try to partner with people that want to continue some of their legacy and run the company a little bit more family like and take their vision and their mission that they've established, and how do we continue that as we move forward. So
I'm going to put you on spot, Michael. Are you using any AI tools for your research and for investment today, or how are you for productivity gain? Right, you just talked about you're investing in a lot of AI tech companies. So, you talked about productivity gains. Are you using any that you can share for your personal
yeah,
use?
we are. Yeah, a great one is Blue Flame.
Okay,
I think they're owned by DataSite around it, so that's been kind of very helpful for it. We've also spent a lot of time with Chat GBT
okay,
around it. What we found there, we actually spent a couple days offsite working on prompts. What are the right questions to ask? What are the right prompts to ask? To generate the most productive data that we have and go back. And, we've utilized that significantly, to drive forward on how we can find the right deals as well as process the due diligence information associated with them.
looks like you're firing on all cylinders, Michael. Good to see that. I want to go back to the conversation that we just had a moment ago. I think you talked about the deal that you walked away, right? I want to probably like look at from a different perspective, right? Not every investment ends in success, and that can be humbling too, right? Can you share a story of a deal? You don't need to name it that didn't work out, but I'm curious to know, like, I don't want to know why it didn't work out, but how you processed it, right? Both in terms of business and also your own leadership growth.
Yeah, I think, for me, I think a lot of us, like, we get attached to things, right?
Yes.
So you take the money and you've invested it, but you've also invested a tremendous amount of your time, associated with it. And I recollected, a deal that, we courted over a pretty long, extended period of time. So, we got to
Sure.
know each other,
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
well, uh, around it. We thought that there was an investment thesis there to be had and to be um, achieved for a return associated with it. But as we got into it and we went down the path, we saw some shifts in the market that didn't go our way.
Yeah.
That started turning the return to not something that was terrible, but was, something that didn't hit the mark, associated with us. And, we felt like um, there just came a point where we had to say, no more investment. And, how do we potentially run this down, take the asset value associated with it, get our investment back, and then,
Right.
deploy the capital into something different and something else
Right.
around
Right.
it.
Hmm.
And that's something that's hard to do. And, I think what I've always learned, right. And is, make that determination quickly,
Hmm.
and to ensure yourself that you're not throwing bad money after bad around it. Give it the time around it. And I think when I find myself in those type of situations, what I like to do is step away from it and get other people's opinions and insight,
Right. Right.
um, especially when you're emotionally attached to it and it's your investment. How can I get other people to take a look at the situation and say, hey, is this the right approach? Is this the right move? Should we continue down this path, or should we make a shift?
Right. Right. So, I was talking to the Twin Cities startup chairman. He was highlighting the fact that 5, 10 years ago, we did not have many investors in all markets, right? Everything you want to pitch, you might probably go to Silicon Valley or different market. Now it is changing, right? The investment in general, the investing world is changing fast. It is becoming global. Access is widening, right? There are new voices that are entering into the space. What is exciting for you, Michael, in this space, where this private equity and venture capitalists are headed towards, and what do you think the leaders in the space would stay cautious about?
Yeah, I would say what I'm most excited about is just the newness of the technology and kind of the speed
Yep.
that we're producing. New ideas, new innovations, associated with it. If you think about, when was the first time you've heard about AI? It wasn't that long ago, and look at all the investments that is happening in the space around it. I think that the cautious thing that I think I'm approaching it with, and that others are approaching it is that, how do you pick the winners,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Um, around it. If you think about, venture space, right? What, 75% don't make
Yes.
it. And then,
Yes.
you're looking for the one or two, which represent the 25% that are going to make it, around it. So you've got to get, through that, around it. And so you got to be comfortable,
Hmm. Hmm.
with, failures, and where your, investments may not, pan out, associated with it. And to me, I think it, as we know, as we put together teams together, right, and
Yeah.
done some things together, as in past lives, right, it's finding the right people, it's
Yeah.
finding the right talent, and how do you find the right founders associated with it, and the right people to execute against it.
Right. Yeah. Michael, thank you so much for being a part of the show. And I was thinking through this when you were talking through your success path, and the moments that you walked away. I was thinking, I'm hoping for a day where I can come up with a pitch to you so that you can be my investor. I'm going to wait for that day. I'm going to work for that, work towards that. Again, thanks for taking your time. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Thanks for accepting to be part of the show, Michael.
Oh yeah, I mean, you put something in front of me, I'm all in. I'm all in. So I would invest in your company. So you've
Wow.
done some great things, but
It's
continue
all
to do some great things. So
it,
you just got to come up with that idea and put it forward.
it's all recorded, Michael. Thank you so much.
Thank you.